We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people.
So today we are talking about trust, and that is a big topic in the horse world. You can go to whole clinics and take whole courses and whole things devoted on getting your horse to trust you. And something I hear horse owners saying a lot is, well, I don't trust him. Trust is a two-way street. I personally am exploring trust in a whole new way as I start getting underneath horses and trimming them, horses that I don't know. Tomorrow I'm going to trim a horse that I know for a fact doesn't trust trimmers because it hasn't had great experiences with trimmers. So why would it? And so before I get under that horse, I'm going to tell it, I'm not going to say you can trust me because who am I to say that? They don't know. But I'm going to say, you're free to tell me what you need today. You're free to take as many breaks as you want today, and we're going to work together. But as we dive into this episode, I want to just put out at the forefront, your horse doesn't owe you their trust. That's something that is earned. And if you don't trust your horse, that's a reflection of you, not a reflection of them.
Trust is an interesting thing because, it takes forever to build it and it can be shattered in seconds. But I believe that our lives are built on trust. We have to trust ourselves. We need to know that we can trust those people in our inner circle. And we want to be trusted. But trust isn't something that is really taught. Like emotional fitness and emotional regulation isn't taught. It's talked about, but it's not taught. And so I have pulled up here on my computer a really cool thing about trust, and I want to just read. Trust at its core is a belief in the reliability and honesty of someone or something, leading to reliance and confidence. It's a foundational element of relationships and cooperation built over time through consistent actions, communication, and keeping promises. So, in regards to horses and we wanting to be their leader, them needing us to be their leader, Laura's right. We can't expect that they trust us. We can't demand or command that they trust us. We have to prove ourselves worthy of a horse's trust. And that is in some ways harder than it is to earn the trust of another human being because we're asking a prey animal to trust a predator. And if we don't have self-awareness of how we show up energetically into the world, do we show up confident? Do we show up pushy? Do we show up weak? Do we show up small? Do we show up arrogant and aggressively? How do we show up? And we show up differently in all kinds of different situations. And you can spend an hour with your horse and have 7 different experiences, or we'll call them moments within that hour, that brings up different ways of you expressing yourself depending on your past experience, your level of confidence. I think in order for us to have our horse trust us, we first must learn to trust ourselves. And that's hard because I've lived a lot of years and I am still working on fully trusting myself based on my past experiences. I believe that everybody wants to feel like they can trust another being. And man, when you think about horses, whether they trust us or not, we slap a halter on their face. We put them in a corral and we corner them and we make them accept a halter. We make them leave their pen. We make them take things in their mouth and things on their backs and give us their feet. All of those things that are their security and safety. How mindful are we of that?
The awareness that is required to be fully present with where everyone's trust meter is at between a horse and a human is unreal. And it can be hard to hold it. And so you pick it up, you have it for a minute, and you drop it. You pick it up, you have it for a minute, you drop it. And you have to be kind of honest with yourself that that's what's happening. When I got MJ, my trust in myself was the lowest that it had ever been with horses. I had lost my horse before her from colic. It was 100% preventable if I hadn't put my trust in the wrong people. But at the same time, they weren't going to change. That's on me that I didn't recognize that. I didn't have the awareness that I needed to do things differently. Am I a little bit bitter that that happened? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, my horse is my responsibility. So there was so much incongruency within me when I got MJ. And the crux of it was I was terrified I was going to make a wrong choice or a wrong move and she was going to fall over dead in front of me at any moment. I look back at pictures of our first 6 months together, and she is like so closed off to me. And why wouldn't she be? She could feel all this incongruency coming off of me. Now, 6 years later, a lot has happened. And for the most part, there's just a lot of trust all the time. But when you reach for a new level, when you're working on something new, when you don't know how your horse is going to respond, you come up against that again. Right now, we are reworking into going out on the trail alone. It's our favorite thing to do. We will ride with other people. There are great people to ride with, but our most favorite thing is to go out just the two of us. That takes a lot of trust. And the last time we went out, everything went perfectly. And so in my human brain, that stuffed the trust bank hard. But really, does that really mean anything about what's going to happen next time? No. Where my trust in her never falters, and where I hope, and I've done the work, and I really hope her trust in me never falters, is the horse is never, ever going to hurt me on purpose. Ever. I am never going to be harmful towards her on purpose. Ever. We show up with our best intentions for each other and do our best. And that is a solid trust foundation for her and I. And that is where it's really important to build your building blocks starting there. Don't just expect, oh, well, this horse is, I paid a lot of money for you, therefore you should trust me. Or I should be able to trust you. No, you got to put in the time and build that relationship and show them that your words mean something. And in the act of doing that, you build the trust in yourself. Because really, when you go out on the trail with your horse, your new horse or your horse you haven't ridden in a long time, this is happening in me. I know what my horse is going to do when she spooks. It's, can I ride it? Can I see it coming? Can I understand it? Can I ride it? Can I correct it? Can I get us through it? She's going to do what she's going to do. It's all about, do I trust myself to be able to stay with her through it?
I think the average normal horse person thinks of trust as a one-way street. A lot of us women, I think, strive for that trust both ways, because I think we just connect with our animals on a more intimate, authentic level where men, I don't know, and I don't want to stereotype, I don't want to assume, I don't want to label, but the thought that's coming to my mind is like, why do men struggle to show affection and connection and feelings towards their horses? And I think part of it is that vulnerability that they're a little bit less likely to show than we are.
Well, and society has kind of unfortunately made it not okay for them to be that way.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
have met some handy horsemen and have studied with some amazing horsemen who have the deepest, most sacred trust between them and their trusty steed that you could ever hope to find. And while they're not hugging and kissing on their horses, you can tell that that is a partnership that is rock solid on trust. But I think the majority of us want to trust our horse. We want to feel safe. We want to feel confident that our horse isn't going to hurt us, and that is a good thing. I just think we need to awaken to the two-way street, that they need to feel the same way. They need to know, trust is broken so frequently through lies. I had a wise horseman say to me, I don't know, probably 15 years ago now, is don't lie to your horse. And I was like, I'm not even sure I know what that means. And I've spent 15 years really like with that in my mind. Like, what does that mean? And I've learned, especially with the wild horses who don't trust horses. I mean, don't trust humans from the get-go because they've been captured, right? Everything that they've been exposed to humans is not anything that's trustworthy. And so, what does it mean to lie to your horse? And Laura touched on that incongruency. I see women, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I got you, it's all right.
And the
We won't,
anxiety is like,
we won't, you're okay, you're okay, we can do this, we can do this. And just the tone in their voice is screaming, I hope this goes well.
and like the tension and the way that they're holding their leader open and their movements in their body, the whole thing is, I'm freaking out, but it's gonna be okay.
And what we don't realize that animals are so keen to is that our emotions secrete hormones and they have a smell to them. Fear has a smell. Adrenaline and cortisol has a smell. Endorphins and serotonin has a smell. So you know that saying, it's not passing the smell test. That is so true for horses. So that's one form of lying to your horse, saying and behaving in a way that is not in alignment with how you're truly feeling. That goes back to that self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The other way to lie to your horse is to ask them to do something with you. And you ask them and they ask them and you ask them, and for whatever reason it's not happening. You don't know how to ask them, they don't understand what you're asking, they're afraid of what you're asking, but you're asking and then go, oh, never mind, let's go do this. So you have just lied to your horse that you are their leader, that is worthy of their trust in any given moment. And I see that in the day-to-day routine. Like, let's go to the hitching post. Oh, you don't want to step over the puddle. Okay, we'll go groom you over here. Let's go into the arena. Oh, you don't want to go through the gate. Okay, let's go over here. Okay, that seems very benign until you get out on the trail with Laura and MJ and nobody else around. And has Laura proven to MJ in the day-to-day stuff that when I ask you to do something, I have a really good reason for it. So let's do it. And we may struggle in trying to do it. We may recognize that in this moment, that's more than you can do. So can you do something that I know you can do? So that we don't break that bond and that trust of when I ask, trust me, it's going to be okay. We can do this. And then put in the back of your mind, okay, we struggled on going through that puddle to get to that bridge. We couldn't even get to the bridge. We don't even know if we could have crossed the bridge because we couldn't get through the puddle. We're not going to fight about it now. We're going to know that we need to come back with the focus of working on a puddle. So that is a way of lying to your horse. And when you lie to your horse, you're undermining the trust. You know, building trust doesn't happen in an instant. Again, I'm reading from this site. It's cultivated through consistent honesty, open communication, and keeping commitments.
Yeah.
How does that apply to you and your horse? I'm going to read several of these through our episode today. And the reason I'm doing that is because I would love for you to ponder. What does that mean to you? Like, trust is about vulnerability and risk. True trust involves making yourself vulnerable to someone else's actions. How does that play out between you and your horse? Not just for you, but for your horse. Trust involves your horse making themselves vulnerable to your actions and vice versa. It's a leap of faith, as it's impossible to know someone's true intentions or actions completely. Both sides, you and your horse. What's that bring up for you, Laura?
You know, somewhere along the way, as horse people, we have gotten super attached to what it looks like, what other people think, what we're achieving, what's going, and in that we lose our trust in ourselves and we break our trust in our horses. So last Saturday, which I have said before, is my day to go on a trail ride by myself. Nobody can have it. I get there. There's a new horse in my horse's pasture. I'm instantly extremely annoyed because I wasn't told that was happening. Everybody's kerfluffling about. MJ thankfully was just standing in the pasture, so clearly that meant that she'd had her say and won and was done, but there was still great unrest amongst the rest of them. And I have to ride by this pasture to get off the property. And I looked at this situation and I instantly knew, because we've been working on our emotional regulation, going by all the horses in the pasture, because this pasture was in an absolute uproar, riding by it by myself when there was actually nobody even home on the property if I were to get in trouble was not a good idea. That was my first gut reaction. I should not go out on the trail by myself today. My second gut reaction was, well, you're weak and you're not a strong horsewoman. And if you really were good at what you say you're good at, you would just go ride your horse. And my third thought was, what's the risk? We know I'm extremely conservative about this particular spot on the property because you're riding your horse through a gully. And if my horse with her tendon injury starts scrambling up the sides of the gully, she could really hurt herself. So Laura, put aside your ego and go have a nice ride in the arena, which is what I did. We worked on some stuff that I hadn't been making time for, and we had a blast. And it was like, almost better than if we would have gone out on the trail because it was just like that was the ride that needed to happen today. But then on top of that, I get to the barn on Monday. My barn owner comes up to me and was like, "Hey, did you let a horse to the gate when you were here on Saturday? What the heck? Like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you do something about it?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I didn't let a horse to the gate." Come to find out, this horse had jumped the panels between the two pastures and was never supposed to be in my pasture. I was super pissed that there was a new horse and I hadn't been notified. My barn owner was super pissed that I just allowed a bunch of horses to mix. And we realized, like, oh, there's a bent panel. She definitely jumped that. So the mix had happened in the last like hour. And no, that would have been a hellacious thing for me to ride by. Thank goodness I listened to my gut. But had I not had the confidence in myself to listen to my gut and I would have let that ego speak come in, I could have gone out there and gotten in a wreck. That horse could have jumped the lower fence between the pasture and me and MJ and been out on the road with us. So recognize that ego piece in yourself. Recognize when those other voices and those other influences in your horsemanship journey are causing you to question your trust in yourself and in your horse, and dare to stay true to you and your horse.
Follow your gut.
Yeah.
That space 3 inches below your belly button and back towards your spine. That's your gut. When your gut tells you, learn to listen to it, because that's a part of trust. That's a part of trusting yourself. That's proving to that part of you that feels vulnerable and kind of gets a little anxious over risk and going out of the comfort zone. And when you listen to your gut, you prove to that part in yourself that you can trust yourself. And it's going to make it easier for others to trust you when you've nurtured the trust in yourself. How many times have we, in hindsight, said, yeah, I just had a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Just had a feeling that was not the right thing to do. And, building on that, how often is what we perceive as resistant or being bossy or obstinate or difficult in our horses? How do we know that they're not following their gut? And that's something that I believe takes time exploring confidence and trust and the communication and the connection between you and your horse to recognize. I mean, it was solid in RC, but it's getting there with my other horses that I ride regularly now. Dakota is another one who you had no doubt when she was following her gut versus just kind of like, I don't really think you're serious, so make me. Versus, yeah, no, that's a really bad idea. You should rethink that. And if you don't want to rethink that, I will help you rethink it. RC was great for that. Especially RC grew up in the Sierra Mountains where we did have bears. And we rode in the forest where there were bears, and he would let us know when there was a bear. And there were times that it was like, oh, RC, no, we're fine. We just have to get through this section and we'll be okay. And I would push and I would push and he would push back. And finally, he would get to the point where if you want to go, you can go. I will gracefully or not dismount you, and you go that way and I'm going home. And when he got to that mini threat, which was a little pop up on his front feet and a half spin, when he did that, I knew that that was his firm line in the sand that said, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going with you. And that was trust.
And I'm going to drop in a shameless plug for Cindy's webinar that she has in her Facebook group, Becoming a Leader Worthy of Following. In that webinar, she goes in detail into each one of the horse's senses and how your horse knows what's going on so much better than you do in their senses and their smell and their sight and their hearing. And we have to honor that. A lot of times MJ says, there's something over there. The conversation goes, okay, I believe you. Is it something we need to be worried about or not? 9 times out of 10, it's a deer or a turkey or a squirrel or something. Okay, I acknowledge that you see that. Moving on. We also have a mountain lion in our neighborhood. Same thing. If she stops and snorts and pops up her front end and says, we're not going that way today, I believe you. No, there's no world where I ever want to have a meeting with a cougar on the trail, ever. Why don't I just trust and believe my horse? But it really helps you decode what they're saying when you have that understanding of their senses. So I highly recommend, if you're working on trust with your horse, that you check that out, because it helps you when they're looking off in the distance, flaring their nostrils, flicking their ears, that kind of stuff. You can kind of suss out what they're telling you.
They, like Laura said in my webinar, Becoming a Leader Worthy of Following, and we may put that link in the show notes so you guys can check it out. They are so much more aware of what's going on in our environment than we are. I have been devoted to my horsemanship for 25 years now. And for the last 5 years, I have been really devoted to becoming as much like a horse as I can, meaning developing my senses more and more and more. I know I will never be to the level of the horse because we're different species. But I have also seen how much better I am than I used to be. And by doing that, I am upping the trust my horse has in me as the leader that says, I have control over you, or at least I have a sense of control over you because I'm in a saddle, I have a head stall on you, I have reins, you know what I mean? Reality is, if a horse decides no, it's no, you don't have control.
That's a
But
really great argument for really developing a lot of trust between both of you right there.
right there is, don't abuse their trust. But their senses are so much more keen. They smell farther away than we do. They see better than we do. They hear better than we do. They feel the ground vibrate in a way we can only hope to someday feel without it being an earthquake under us.
Yeah.
So, and they're trained to hear and smell danger, predators.
And really, the trust, the beautiful culmination in the trusting relationship is when you can take their input. We have critical thinking minds beyond what they will ever have. They have senses beyond what we will ever have. We can meld those two things where you're taking input from each other and trusting what the other has to say. That's when you're at your very best you're ever going to be with you and your horse. And, the more you increase your knowledge and your skills and their exposure and your relationship, the further you can take that. But that's where you want to be, is I trust what you're saying. I trust what you're saying. We're responding to our environment with the best of our awareness, and away we go.
Stop second guessing yourself. Feeling stuck with your horse? Second guessing every decision? Wondering if you're really doing what's best? You're not alone. Most horse owners unknowingly make mistakes that lead to frustration, resistance, and even hidden health issues. That's why we're hosting the Secrets to the Horse-Human Experience you've always wanted, so you can gain the clarity, confidence, and knowledge to make the best choices for your horse. Sign up for this live event now at the link in the show notes and start transforming your partnership today. You have to be willing to accept the fact that you don't know more than your horse does.
Yeah. You guys know differently, not more.
Yes, yes. And it begins in our day-to-day interaction. It begins in how we catch them. Do we trap them? Do we coax them with grain? Do we allow them to choose us? It starts in the way that we walk them through a gate. I watch so many people open the gate wide enough for themselves and totally forget that their horse is twice as wide as they are. And when you put a saddle on them, now they got clanging things that make them even wider. And they bang the gate and shoot through the gate and almost the top over the top of you. And now you're mad at your horse because you can't trust them when you were the one
Who
who
created that?
led them through that. It starts with how you approach the wash rack or the hose or the dewormer or the trailer, the groundwork. And God, please tell me you're doing groundwork and not lunging your horse. When you get in the saddle, how you get in the saddle, how you cinch them up, how you put the saddle on their back. Everything means something to a horse. So if you start awakening your awareness to how are you with your horse? I have some clients and I have witnessed lots of people completely, totally unaware of how they're engaging with that horse. Some will even have the Bluetooth in their ear talking on the phone
Oh my
while
gosh.
they're tacking up
I
their horse.
When I talk on the phone, she will find a way to give me a nip if I am asking her to be present with me and on the phone.
I won't even do it. My phone is always on vibrate. It started from working with the wild ones, but I like it so much. My phone, unless I'm expecting a very important call I can't miss, my phone is always on vibrate. And when I'm with a horse, I won't even. I'll know it. I'll feel the vibration on my watch. I'll feel the vibration in my back pocket, but I won't because it's about me and that horse. So you're hearing us talk a lot about trust and building trust. And out on the trail is not the time to start building trust. The day to day, the simple things, when you pick up their hoof, do you hold it with care? And when you're done, do you just drop it? Or do you politely set it back down?
We keep talking about awareness. Think about somebody who you've tried to talk to about something that's bothering you or isn't working for you, and they've been completely unaware and uncaring about it. Did you trust that person? One that just boggles my mind is horses standing tied to be groomed and tacked up. Horse sees something, something happens. Horse gets scared. Person interacting with the horse doesn't give the horse a moment to think or react or come down from being up in their sympathetic nervous system and just says, "Give me your foot, you big stupid oaf, give it to me now." And the horse is like, "I might have to run for my life. I'm already tied to this pole, and now you want me to be three-legged?" So the person reefs the horse's leg up, and the horse takes the first opportunity of that person to relax to slam their hoof down as hard as they can and take it back. And now the horse is a bad horse.
And even without that whole scenario, right, Laura? When you take a horse's leg away from them, you are taking their security and safety and the ability to defend themselves away. Yes, they're strong and they can take it right back, but we're talking about building that trust. So every time you ask for that hoof, can you ask for it in a respectful way that builds trust? Every time you ask them to take that bit in their mouth or put that halter on their face, can you do it in a way that says, I trust you? Can you trust me? The first thing I ever do with a client's horse or my own horse or with a Mustang is I prove to them the best to my ability in every moment of our interaction that I am a leader worthy of their trust. And I'm earning their trust in everything I do. Now, that doesn't mean I'm perfect. And yes, I have moments where I've got shit on my mind and life is happening and I'm not showing up the best that I can, but I recognize it.
And you adjust your expectations.
hmm And I have also been known from the get-go to apologize
Mm-hmm.
and say, I am having a hard day today. I am not on the top of my game today. So please forgive me in advance. I'm going to do my best. And maybe you could help me. That's that willing to be vulnerable part of trust. I don't leave them with confusion because, like we started at the beginning, right? They know.
Mm-hmm.
They know before we even know if we're on top of our game or not. So there's this one other thing here that I'm looking at that says trust in different contexts. Trust is essential in personal relationships, business partnerships, and even in financial arrangements. It can also be placed in a belief system or a higher power. We don't have business partnerships with our horses, but we definitely have a partnership. And we have a personal relationship with them. And we have a belief system. There's so many different beliefs on how you act with a horse and what's right and what's wrong and what should and what shouldn't be done. Where do you place your trust in a belief system, or do you even have trust in a belief system? And if you don't know how to answer that question, I'm going to give you a little hint. When you're seeking out multiple trainers, multiple programs, multiple tools, multiple gear, you have not found your system to believe in. That doesn't mean that we don't have something to learn from everyone and every system. Some things that we learn are like, damn, that's good. I'm gonna learn how to apply that. And others are like, oh no, that is exactly how not to do it. But either way, you still can learn something from every system. Just be aware of why you're seeking out
Well, and I
multiple.
think that the difference is your belief system completely changing every time you study with someone new? Because it is like going from, oh, I believed this and now I believe the polar opposite and I do this and now, then you're just thinking how people are telling you to think.
Yeah.
Is your belief system strengthening in areas and maybe like, oh, I got a little uncomfortable here and I challenged it, but I totally understand the why behind it. And with this deeper understanding, I'm going to shift that a little bit. And oh, I really had that right. And now I have it even better. Are you getting deeper and more integrated and your understanding and your skills moving forward? Or are you just like throwing out the baby with the bathwater and completely changing everything every time you go to someone? Is your horse trying to tell you something? Your horse is always communicating, but are you listening? If you've ever struggled with tension, confusion, or resistance, it's not random. Your horse is trying to tell you something. In the Secrets to the Horse Human Experience You've Always Wanted, we'll show you how to decode your horse's signals, fix miscommunication, and create a true partnership built on trust and understanding. Don't miss this live event. Save your spot now at the link in the show notes.
I know that when I think it probably started a little bit before I set out on, being committed to being the best I could be for horses. I think this started A little bit before it, not much. Um, I was trying out a whole bunch of different things. And I was watching a whole bunch of different professionals. That's back when we had the VHS videotape. And a lot of them contradicted each other, which created a state of confusion. Some of them were like, oh, that's completely opposite of what I've been trying over here. So maybe I'll try it. And oh, that worked out better. So there's some value in that. But as I started getting things going on with horses and I started understanding more about how to engage with them and how to use my tools and things like that, I found two things, and I'm curious to know how you all feel about this or if you've even thought about it. I found two things that when went searching for more than one method, one mentor, was I wasn't trusting them or their process. But more importantly, what I discovered was I wasn't getting the results that I was seeing in them, and it was pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I wanted a quicker fix. So rather than putting the time in that it takes to learn a method, understand it, learn how to use the tools adequately, instead of doing that, I was going on to the next. And when I finally recognized that that's what I was doing, rather than stand still, be uncomfortable, put the effort into it, learn how to master it, like anything else in life worth doing. Once I realized that that's what I was doing, and I was simply avoiding feeling uncomfortable and awkward and not knowing how to use my tools, which I have so much empathy with my clients now when I ask them to start using tools in a new way or using new tools. And they're like, I'm never going to get this. I'm like, I know. I so know how you feel. And this is what I did to help me through that, you know? But once I recognized that that's what I was doing, I then made the commitment to myself and to my horse that I was picking the method that set well in my heart, that I was seeing results that made sense and seemed fair to the horse. And I decided to trust the process
Mhm.
and commit the time to learning the process. And
And you staying with the messy middle and trusting that there's something else on the other side. Most people, that's a big statement, but I'm sticking with it. They get to the messy middle part. They lose the trust in themselves. They lose the trust in the program or the trainer. They lose the trust in their horse, and they abandon ship and go for something else.
yeah,
There is no transformation worth anything without a messy middle.
trust is huge, you guys, and you don't have to do anything. But I'm learning that right now I'm in a big state of my life where I am being called to trust in a way I've never had to trust before. And it's a roller coaster. Sometimes I feel rock solid. This is it. This is it. There's no doubt. And then there's other moments of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I want to go to sleep. I want to eat. I want to run. I want to ride. I want to check out. And then there's, everything in between those two extremes. And that's where the self-awareness comes in. Like, is what I'm feeling right now in this moment a pattern from the past that is being triggered because of what's happening in this current moment? Or is it really my gut telling me, stop, pause, pay attention, breathe, drop into your gut? Is this real? So trust, I am going to say in my final statement, is that trust first begins with you trusting you
Mm-hmm.
before you can extend it, before you can be willing to be vulnerable enough to risk all of the potential things that comes with trusting another, and before you will feel trustworthy to another. You have to trust yourself.
And don't confuse trust with being in your comfort zone all the time, because that's not what we're saying. Trust yourself to be capable of getting where you want to go in the steps that you take. Now, Cindy very eloquently said, is this a trigger or is this a gut knowing? No, being able to pause and differentiate that is a huge step in building your self-trust. Because if you take your triggers as gut knowings all the time, you'll just stay within your comfort zone and you'll never grow. And if you're happy in your horsemanship and you're like what you're doing and you're not wanting to grow, that's fine. But I think a lot of us are kind of, I don't know why the horse world seems to attract us ambitious crazies, but I'm like, I want to ride perfectly all the time. I want to do all the amazing things. I want to disappear into the backcountry for a year and not be seen. Like, what? Okay. But we have these big ideas and these big goals, and we have to trust ourselves in the pursuit of them. And that means trusting ourselves to hold ourselves and our horses in periods of growth and uncomfort.
I think the reason that horses attract that or bring that out in us is because horses represent a sense of freedom and a dream and wide open spaces and pure potential. So I think that that's what it brings out. And I love that you said, don't confuse trust with your comfort zone, because the last one that I want to read is trust versus confidence.
Mm.
What is the difference? Confidence is often based on observable evidence or proof, while trust involves reliance on perceptions and beliefs. Trust can be damaged or eroded more easily than confidence, requiring a slow and deliberate rebuilding process. So that's an interesting one to ponder. Trust can be damaged or eroded more easily than confidence, requiring a slow and deliberate rebuilding process. So it makes me wonder, like the wrecks that I've had definitely affected my confidence. But I remember moments of healing, those long periods of healing. One was 3 months, one was 6 months, one was a year. I remember having moments of, I don't trust you anymore
Mm-hmm.
to my horse. And other moments of, I don't trust me
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Because I had confidence that I knew what I was doing. But now I don't trust that confidence,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to leave me pondering a lot, because a lot of the women I work with are needing help with confidence. They have had something that has shattered their confidence. And now I'm going to ponder for a while on, I'm striving to help them rebuild their confidence, but maybe I need to take it even
Like
deeper
peel the onion to the trust.
and help them focus more on trusting. Because the more that you can trust your gut, trust yourself, trust your horse, the horse trusts you. That is what's truly building the confidence, right?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah,
Mind blown.
I know confidence comes with mastery of skills and competency and stuff, but like you can be highly skilled at something and lose your trust in yourself and become unwilling to own that confidence and do that thing.
I think a lot of people who were really, really good at something that had an accident, had something shatter what we perceive to be the confidence. I think what really was shattered was their trust in themselves.
Yeah.
Wow. Raise your hand if you've learned something. My hand's raised.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you're going out with your horse, be aware of where your trust is faltering and their trust is faltering. Do a little audit of that situation and just, there's no right or wrong. It's nobody's fault. It's a new level of awareness.
And please, if you have any questions or confusion or you want to share something, always share with us on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry. Because if we're willing, we're always learning.
Yeah.
Like I truly learned a lot from this episode today. What about you, Laura?
Yeah. I mean, these conversations, they unlock new awarenesses and new thought patterns in us as well as hopefully you guys. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.